Good afternoon. It's so good to see you guys getting on early and testing your systems out. We're going to continue to play this in just a second and give you a little bit of a feel of Longwood. Don't worry, we're going to spend plenty of time going over Longwood Gardens, and it's a great spot. If anyone hasn't been there, we're going to tell you all about it and why you might want to go there. But in the meantime, what I'd love to have you kind of practice is, for those, how many are on a phone today or an iPad versus a computer? If you're on a phone or an iPad, just kind of raise your hand. Let me see you kind of go that way. We're going to allow people to unmute during this first part, but then when we start up, we are going to mute just so that we don't kind of interrupt all the wonderful things that we have planned. But there are two things that I want you to do. Is number one, if you are on an iPad or a phone, by swiping over to the right or the left, you can see more people. You also usually will see a little 3 dots at the bottom. And if you click those 3 dots, you'll see something that says chat, C-H-A-T. And that actually allows you to type messages. So for some of you, I put in here a little bit earlier to try using the chat, list your favorite holiday movie or holiday song. So I know we have some on here, "Oh Come All Ye Faithful." Some are talking about "Miracle on 34th." I love that one. "Feliz Navidad," which actually is celebrating 50 years. It's an amazing story about a wonderful singer, Puerto Rican singer, who's actually blind and became a world-class guitar player. So great story. So I love that one. "Elf" is a very funny movie. "The Snowman." So there's lots of great ones, and you can just simply pull up the chat and type. And during the event, that's how we're going to communicate. And so you can actually send a message to everybody, or you can send a message to somebody individually by clicking the little arrow next to where it says "every." I will let you know that the chat box does actually record. So even though you send a message to somebody individually, we will see it later. So if you say Brett looks really funny in his hat and sweater on the video that came out, I'll see that later. But go ahead and have a little bit of fun with that. We are going to be doing some participation today. So some of the things as we go on through the show, we're going to actually have a chance to do a little bit using some questions and some trivia. We're going to, of course, celebrate the wonderful music of the holiday seasons and lots of great things planned. But in the meantime, sit back, enjoy a little bit of Longwood Gardens and the music as it plays, and we will get started right about 4 o'clock. Well, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of Longwood Garden. It's great to see so many people on the call. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet, though I know so many of you that are on the call today, my name's Brett Isaacson. I'm the president of Friendship Tours in the Ship Shop, and it is an absolute pleasure
to Longwood
to be
Gardens.
your plan. It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys joining us for our season to celebrate past and present. Before we get started, a couple quick things. We love seeing your picture. So if you want to go ahead and share your picture, you certainly can do that. We are going to ask that everybody mutes themselves during the presentation. If you have any questions, you can use the chat feature that we were talking about a little bit earlier. So if you're on a computer, at the bottom of the screen, you might see some things there, three little looks like dots. Those dots, if you click on them, it'll give a little message down there, and one of them is chat. Now, you may already see chat in the little message bar, and you would just simply click chat, and it'll allow you to send a message to everybody. What you do is you type your message, and you gotta remember to hit enter. Often people will type and they go, I don't know why no one's seeing my message. If you don't hit enter, it doesn't actually go out to everybody. And Heidi is nice enough. She's actually operating all of our tech. So everybody wave to Heidi. You can do a little like this. Give her a big cheer. This is International Sign Language for cheering, okay? But we really appreciate, she has put in so much hard work taking our vision of what this show was going to be and putting it into actual reality. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But a season to celebrate, past and present, actually came about. We've been doing Zoom and different things like this for the last probably about almost 4 or 5 months. And I have to be honest, when we first started this, how many knew about Zoom a year ago? If you raise your hand, I bet many people, some may have, but for a lot of us, this is a totally new thing. It's not something that we've done with our celebrating of the holidays for sure in years past, but it's kind of creating this brand new way to get together. If we actually go back to March, I don't know if you remember around that time period, but I was actually in Australia, New Zealand with about 22 individuals. And during that time, the world obviously changed quite a bit. We actually flew back March 13th. It was the longest Friday the 13th ever in history. It spent about 27 hours traveling. And during that time, we came back and we were some of the last people to get into the United States. We had a great trip and we had those wonderful memories. But from that time period going forward, it was really hard. And I know a lot of you have experienced that hardship, maybe not being able to do the things that we always love. But this time of year really has us look back at the joys of celebrating the holidays. And so today, what we want to do is we're going to celebrate the season, not only in places that we love, but around the world. We're going to do movies and memories, music and songs, and remember a lot of things that are going to maybe be from either our youth or from our adult lives, all the way up to the present day. And I can't think of a more 2020 way to celebrate the season than to do it via Zoom. And so we started off today's presentation by showing you Longwood Gardens, and we're going to get to that in just a second. I want to say a very special thank you. How many realize that the tourism industry is almost $7.6 trillion. It's 10.2% of the global GDP. In 2016, 292 million jobs were in tourism. And basically in March, that all came to pretty much a halt. Now, I told you I was in Australia and New Zealand. My poor sister, who's the other owner of Friendship Tours, Amy, and she can wave to a lot of you. So Amy Schoen is on the call. Amy was back here with our amazing staff at Friendship Tours. And in those weeks while we were away, so we would talk, we were a day, 18 hours basically ahead in time. So I would wake up at 5 in the morning. It was about 3 o'clock back here, the day after where we were, and we would talk every day as things changed and came up. And our staff kept adapting, changing things. And some of you actually joined us. We were able to get to the point where in August till the first week in November, we actually were able to have about 130 people on different buses and do some travel as we went through our safe procedures and actually got back and going. Now, I bet many of you are ready to be back on the road, and with the news of the vaccines, we can't wait to do that. But this medium is one of the most amazing things. And I always love to use some quotes. And before we get going with the show, there's one that I love, which is every problem has a gift for you in its hands. And I really feel like this Zoom is one of those gifts, because what we realize is we always said friendship tours is all about friends through travel. And what we discovered, and many of you on our website have been on, we created a section called More Than Tours. And what we found out, it was more than travel that united us. It was actually getting together, creating those friendships, and connecting with each other. And that's really what I'm hoping today, even in this little way. We're going to do some interactive parts of this, though we may not all use our voice. We're going to use the chat, and you're also going to have a chance to do some voting on different things to see what our favorite movie was, what our favorite song, and we're going to kind of go from there. So I was telling you about tourism and how amazing tourism, it actually drives the economies of the world. And that basically all shut down. And over the last couple of months, in this whole country and all over the world, people have been finding ways to connect around that travel. And I can't think of anyone who's done a better job than our staff. And I really want to thank them for everything that they've gone through. And then also taking ideas like getting a bunch of people together on this call to do a program like today, which was in my head. They actually went, and specifically Heidi, who's on the call, was able to go out and produce what we're going to talk about today. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome. We're so glad to see you. And I think one of the best places we could start was where we began in the beginning, which of course is Longwood Gardens. Now, for those that haven't been to Longwood in Pennsylvania, this is originally the home of Pierre DuPont. Now, if you know Delaware and you know the Brandywine area, for years we have done holiday trips. We've done DuPont Christmas, where we've gone to the wonderful DuPont areas, everywhere from the Hagley, so in the Delaware area, which was I.E. DuPont, the original DuPont that came to the United States around the Revolution. What made him so interesting is when I.E. came, he actually didn't list himself. Many people know DuPont made their fortune in gunpowder, but he didn't see him that way. He saw himself actually as a horticulturalist or a botanist. And when he came from France, he listed his occupation as botanist. And through the years, his family used horticulture and their gardens to feed their employees, to create a better part of their life. And that went through all of their generations, from Alfred DuPont. If you know New Mars, that's one of my favorite properties in down in the Brandywine area and down in Pennsylvania and in Delaware. There's also Henry Francis DuPont and the wonderful Winter Tour, which is a great garden and has this time of year some of the most amazing furniture and clothing, and they celebrate the holidays in an amazing way. And of course, Pierre DuPont. Pierre DuPont actually was born in 1817, and he created Longwood as his home, but he actually went out and made a lot of money with DuPont and then into other companies, but he had that love for horticulture and for gardening. He actually bought his first property to protect a group of endangered trees. And that little farm that he bought created Longwood Gardens. And so what made his story so amazing is that right around 1876, when the centennial was being celebrated, they had a huge centennial celebration in Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, they had a replica of the idea of Niagara Falls and the power of the water, but the fountains that he saw there as a child inspired him to actually travel all over the world to get ideas for how a super garden at his home might look. And eventually, if you've ever been to Longwood, you know the fountains are one of the main areas. There are fountains throughout the entire garden, but of course, it all started for him. He loved music and he loved entertainment. And if you've ever been to Versailles or some places in France, you will see gardens that actually operate on foot pedals. And his original theater that he built in his garden, where he would have shows similar to a Broadway play, some of the best musicians, today when you go to Longwood Gardens, it's the singing fountains. And at the holiday time, it's a lighted show, not the main fountains. We're going to talk about those as well. But that was the beginning of it all. So he started at age 36 with this dream of creating this home, and then he left it to the people because he wanted people to be able to go and enjoy it. Now, in his home, I told you he loved gardens, but music was a major part. And I thought, to get us started and get us in the holiday season, why not start off with a sing-along? So you're going to sing at home, okay? And fill your room. We'll watch you on the video, but we're going to do a quick sing-along with their amazing pipe organ. Now, the organ at Longwood Gardens that Pierre had installed is over 10,000 pipes. It's spread out over 3 rooms in the conservatory. It's 55 tons of instrument. The control panel they describe as a cockpit, which you'll actually be able to see. And so we're going to start off and travel to Longwood Gardens.
Welcome to Longwood Gardens. My name is David Christopher, and I am delighted to be leading you in carols with the Longwood Gardens organ. There are so many reasons to come to Longwood Gardens at Christmas time. The beautiful flowers, the amazing decorations, and singing carols with the Longwood Gardens organ really helps us get in the holiday spirit. We're going to start with a traditional carol, Angels We Have Heard on High.
Our futures were written with crayons and coloring books. It was misspelled and outside the lines, and we loved how it looked. Like the crooked hem of your favorite childhood dress, and the holes in my jeans from years of carelessness. I know since we've grown, we ache for those memories. Honestly, nothing's even compared to you next to me, next to me.
From our home to yours, happy holidays.
Longwood is truly a magnificent spot, and most of the time when we go during the holiday season, we actually arrive just about the time that it is right now. And we arrive and we go through the conservatory. In there, did you see all the different poinsettia? There are about 15 different varieties that they use all throughout. Now, I talked about tourism and how everything changed in March. Well, in Longwood, they believe in gardening by excess. So in the springtime, they have over 5,000 bulbs in just a few of the gardens, and they're all over. Well, they actually went from 250 staff members down to about 25. And they actually, because no one was able to visit, they couldn't keep everything up and running. They pulled all those bulbs and actually put them in the compost pile. And during that time, they actually, if you saw the orchids that they went through, that conservatory, they actually closed things down and put all of those into the greenhouse and started carrying. So it looked nothing like what you just saw. Now, they started reinventing themselves right away. If you go to their website, the flyover that you saw today and so much more, the Oregon concerts, they started putting out all this content of their history. And with that, one of the things that they did that's completely different, if you've ever been there for the holidays, you go in, we like to get there while it's still light out, see a little bit of the music fountains as they go, and then make our way up to the conservatory and walk around. And then as you come out at dusk, there's over 5,000 twinkling lights, and a lot of you saw all of that lit up. Now, for years, the main fountain display, which Longwood actually started, Pierre, his vision in 1928, started the fountains, and those fountains used the existing system with various upgrades all the way through to 2010. Now, throughout that time, anytime something would break down, they would have to dig up, look at the pipes, fix the pipes, and kind of go from there. And it meant that the fountain sometimes wouldn't be working. Now, if anyone's ever been to Disneyland, you know at Disney, everything is in tunnels underneath, so you never see anybody working on anything. You just see the Magic Kingdom. Well, they made his vision of the best fountain show in the world a reality when they went in 2010. Actually in 2009, they tore up the entire garden part, all of the fountains, they brought it down to the dirt, they reset these walking areas so that you would never see anybody working on anything again. And they created a system. Not only does it have the water, does it have the music, the lights, but it actually has fire that's in there as well. And for the first time ever this holiday season, they're actually running the holiday shows to the main musical fountains. They also brought in, because people aren't able to be inside, all of the trains outside. They put in fire pits to make sure people are nice and warm, went to timed admission so that everybody could be nice and distanced and do what they need to do today. So it's really been amazing to watch how people have adapted. Now, when I think about that area, it's right up the road almost from one of the areas that we love to travel to. And that area is Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now, my sister that's on the call, she loves the area because she went to school at Franklin and Marshall. It's right there in the heart of Lancaster. But in addition to that great city area, you know, is the farmlands that surround the area. And of course, what group of people are out there? Are good Amish individuals, right? And so when we were going and putting this together, we thought about how do other people celebrate the holidays? And thankfully, we have a wonderful partner down in the Lancaster area, which is Lois from the Amish Experience. And she's actually here today on the call. Now, when we were talking on the phone, I said, could we ever do something where we could actually have an idea of what and how the Amish celebrate? And when we started to put this together, we kind of joked, I said, but we could never get them on tape and we couldn't necessarily do pictures. How could we bring this experience? And she said right away, I know exactly how to do this. her family. She's got great experience, and I want to share with you something special that she put together for us. So Heidi, do you mind going into our next portion? We're going to travel to Lancaster and learn all about an Amish experience.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day, to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior, Christ our Savior on Christmas Day, to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Hi, happy holidays from the Amish Experience. We are delighted to welcome you into our Amish homestead today. My name is Lois and I'm going to guide the presentation. Now often I am asked if I am Amish because my last name is Stolzfus. With this hair? No, I am not Amish. However, my father-in-law was born and raised Amish until he was shunned. Now that's another whole story and we don't have time to get into that today. Another thing that we're often asked this time of year is, do the Amish celebrate Christmas? And if they do, how do they celebrate? And the answer to that is yes, the Amish do celebrate Christmas. Now you won't find a Christmas tree in an Amish home or beautiful colored lights gracing an Amish door. Have you ever seen that meme where it says Amish Christmas lights and all you see is a big black blank space? Well, that's because the Amish don't have electricity, so they wouldn't be using Christmas lights at all during the season. You may find inside the home boughs of green or candles for decorations, and often Christmas cards are strung, just like we have back here, as a reminder of those who sent them. Not only are they a practical decoration, but they also remind the family to pray for those who sent them. And the children, they love to make paper rings, so you may find some paper ring chains throughout the home as well. Now, Amish children don't believe in Santa because the parents feel that teaching them about a ho, 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 jolly man that brings gifts is misleading the children. But it doesn't stop Amish children from sitting on Santa's lap if they see them in a store. I love to watch them sit on Santa's lap and see their smiles and hear their giggles because they know that it's all in fun and that gentleman is not someone who brings them gifts. There's a lot of preparation that goes into the holiday in an Amish home. There's a lot of baking of cookies, breads, making of candy, and a lot of these items will end up as gifts for family, friends, and English friends. Oh, English, that's what we are. If we're not Amish, we are called English, no matter where you're from. Also, card making is a staple in the Amish community, so you would receive a number of handmade Christmas cards. They are beautiful, made with love, and have a special message inside. Now, the Amish scholars, that's what they call students in a one-room schoolhouse. They get very excited this time of year because they do a presentation for their parents, family, and invited guests. Lots of rehearsal goes into this presentation, and it is made up of skits, songs, and poems that the students do themselves. Now, this presentation and Christmas program would be full of items that would be the true meaning of Christmas. So there are some poems that are used, and I am going to read one for you. Pardon me for using a sheet, but I want to be sure that I get it correct. So this is one of the poems that you would hear. The Christmas season, let us try to do some golden deeds, to carry someone's burden, to help someone in need. There are always those who need us as we journey on life's way, and the friends we win by helping make us richer every day. So when you see a saddened face as Christmas time draws near, do your best to lift the load and spread a word of cheer. That is a sentiment that all of us could use and give during the Christmas season. The other thing that they have in the Christmas program would be songs, but they often take songs with melodies that you may understand and be familiar with, and they change the words to make it more for the meaning of the season. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time for my singing, but I'm going to sing a song and see if you can guess what the tune is. Are you ready? Up in the heavens a great light, shepherds saw one December night. Down from the skies came an angel throng, with a glad message and a sweet, sweet song. Angels sang all around, shepherds bowed to the ground. Then the angels went away on our first Christmas day. Does the tune sound familiar? Yes, it's Up on the Housetop. So that's one way to take secular songs and turn them into something with a special meaning for the season. Now, the children also do exchange gifts at school, so they will pull names and they will bring a gift to their person. And often it is something practical like writing paper, a needlepoint kit, candy, something that is very useful. Now, church can or cannot be celebrated on Christmas. It always depends on how close to the weekend that the day lands. If it's a Monday, chances are you will not have a Christmas service. If it's a Friday or Saturday, you may have a Christmas service. So it all depends on the calendar year. December 25th is spent for family. This is a day where the family spend time together. So they will get up and have breakfast just like we do and exchange gifts just like we do. In fact, again, these gifts are going to be very practical. My Amish-raised in-laws would give us gifts such as calendars, cookies, Chex Mix, mulch vouchers so we could mulch around our trees, things that were very practical. In fact, I will always remember my first Christmas with my in-laws. One of the gifts that we got was toilet paper. Now, right now, toilet paper is a hot commodity, but back then I was a little disappointed and slightly offended that I got toilet paper for Christmas. But as I learned about the culture, then I began to understand that the gifts that they gave were given by love and they were always going to be practical gifts. Now the family will spend time all day together. They will play board games, the children might play outside, and they will sing. Now, again, the songs that they sing, you would know the melodies, but you wouldn't understand the words because they sing the songs in German. Now, a big staple for the Amish, as with everyone on Christmas Day, is Christmas dinner. I have an Amish friend who gave me her Christmas dinner menu, and I'm going to share that menu with you today. So you're going to have pepper cabbage. Now, pepper cabbage is kind of like a coleslaw, but instead of a cream sauce, it's made with a vinegar sauce. Green pepper stuffed with cheddar cheese spread, yum. You can use that as an appetizer on crackers. Cranberry sauce, ham loaf. Now, ham loaf is kind of like meatloaf. It is ground ham that is mixed with spices and then baked just like a meatloaf. Roast beef, you're going to mashed potatoes and gravy, carrots, green beans, and my favorite, homemade noodles with brown butter. Yum, yum. Homemade bread with apple butters and jellies. And then, of course, you're going to have some of those homemade candies and cookies and pies that are made. And an interesting fact is that mince pie is a staple pie in an Amish home for the holidays. Apple crisp and vanilla ice cream will round out that menu. I would think that if I ate all that, I would have to take a nap for sure. Now, if you're hosting the Christmas dinner at your home for the family, you may get an extra special gift from the family. It could be cookware, it could be rugs, tools, maybe even a shovel to shovel all that snow in the winter. Now, Amish celebrate second Christmas, and that is celebrated on December 26th. And this day is set aside for visiting friends and family. So they spend the day visiting all of their friends and families and having another Christmas celebration. Also during this time, you will have get-togethers from like-minded groups such as teachers, single women, and these get-togethers will often last through January and February. So that is a little bit on how the Amish celebrate Christmas. Their Christmas reaffirms their religious roots, they strengthen their family ties, and they show a separation from the English world. So we'd like to just thank you for joining us today. We look forward to welcome you one day to Amish Experience, and we all would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a safe, blessed New Year.
I want to say a big thank you to Lois. I think the video was amazing, but I actually was a president of choir, but really I was a sandbagger, which meant I just stood there and kind of looked nice. She not only looks great, but she can sing, and I just love that she was able to give us all that experience. If you haven't been to the Amish Experience, maybe to their wonderful theater to see Jacob's Choice, it's a great movie all about what it's like to actually grow up Amish and have the different choices. The wonderful carriage rides, visits to the Amish homes. It's a great experience, as well as you get to sample all that great food at Plain and Fancy. So we couldn't thank her more for putting that together and giving us a look into that different culture that maybe some of us haven't seen. Now, if you're in Lancaster, many of you have probably traveled down there. If you've gone through the farmlands and you come off of I-30, maybe past the outlet malls, and all of a sudden you're in this farmland, beautiful area, you come along to what I call the Palace of Lancaster, which is, of course, Sight and Sound Theater. Sight and Sound Theater was a dream of a family, basically, to bring the Bible alive. Over 40 years ago, Sight and Sound was started, and it is a jaw-dropping scale of a stage. If you haven't been there, they truly bring the Bible alive by music. And in this theater, it's not just sitting and watching, it's 180 degrees. So the stage actually goes in front of you, all around, and the room that you're in actually becomes part of the action, with live animals coming down through the aisles and onto the stage. They are some of the best at creating illusions of being there, be it with real animals, with animatronics. When they put on Moses, they actually split the Red Sea. It is unbelievable. And this time of year, they would normally be running a show that's called Miracle of Christmas. And we wanted to give you a small taste of that before we then head on to our second part, which is going to be Around the World. Yeah, hang on one second. With all the technology of getting these things going, sometimes there's a button that's hit in the wrong way. So we'll get right back to this. Heidi's just pulling it up. Go to share. Go back to where it was. Hit escape. Hit escape.
Rejoice, has done great things for me, and holy, holy is his name. My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in my God, in my
It really is something to behold. And a lot of you are actually scheduled last spring. They created Queen Esther. And so we have lots of trips that we're looking to do in the new year, in the spring and through the summer. And we can't wait to go out, see that wonderful show. And of course, visit the Amish Experience in Lois and get the feel for all that Lancaster has to offer. Now, this is where we need you to participate a little bit. So we're going to go into our next part, and we're going to do the very beginning of some of our trivia. So Heidi, she's going to she's got all the pressure because she's handling the logistics behind the scene. We have two different computers. You're having a little issue. That's okay. Hit escape. Yeah. Come on. There we go, our holiday trivia. So she's going to pause that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our poll. So our very first poll that we're going to do is going to be all about the different areas here and a little bit of trivia. So let's go ahead and bring this up for you. That's okay. You're answering our poll on a different section, which we'll go to. I don't know why it's bringing that one up, but we'll go ahead and let you getting a quick preview of some of the movies, which we'll do in our next one. So I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to answer. Then we're going to bring up some results, and then we'll get the poll that belongs in the right place for you. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end that. We're going to go ahead and share the results. Now, remember which ones people like the most, because after you get to see some of the films a little bit later on, you may end up deciding that you have changed your mind. So we're going to stop that. We're going to go in and we're going to pull up our trivia. And so if you don't see the poll, don't worry about it. Heidi's going to actually read these out and you can answer yourself or you can put it in the chat. And so why don't we start off with question number 1.
Question number 1. I just got to move my screen around so I can see it. What is the first name of Scrooge in the novel A Christmas Carol? Is it Macduff, Ebenezer, Weezer, or Tiny Tim? Number 2. What made Frosty the Snowman come to life in the movie Frosty the Snowman? His hat, the genie, a magical star, or his corncob pipe? Number 3. What is popular food for Hanukkah? Punchki, and someone can correct me if I'm saying that wrong, Teresa and Roman. Feast of Seven Fishes, Stollen or latkes? Number 4, who played George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life? Was it John Wayne, James Stewart, Clark Gable, or Clark Griswold? Number 5, what is the name of the real department store on the Miracle on 34th Street? Macy's, FAO Schwartz, Saks Fifth Avenue, or Wanamaker's? And the last one, what are the colors of Kwanzaa? Gold and purple, red, white, and blue, green and white, or black, red, and green?
We're going to give you just a couple more minutes, a couple seconds to get your final answers in. So we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and show you what the results are. Oh, some of you put it in the chat, but maybe you didn't find the little area. So I'm going to assume that everybody got all the right answers, right? You figured out that answer number 1, of course, is Ebenezer. Number 2,
His hat.
his hat. Number 3,
Latkes.
although Feast of the Seven Fishes is always pretty good.
That's Italian.
Yes. Who played George Bailey?
Jimmy Stewart. I love him. And of course, Macy's is number 5, and black, red, and green are the colors of Kwanzaa.
So traveling the world, people celebrate the holidays in many different ways. And so we wanted to share maybe some things that we already all know, but perhaps some holidays from around the world that maybe we aren't so familiar with, and maybe we want to go and have a chance to visit ourselves.
All around the world, different cultures and countries have winter celebrations. Some of them are religious and others commemorate the beginning of a new year. One of the most popular holidays around the world is Christmas, which is celebrated each year on December 25th. This holiday commemorates the birth of Jesus Christ over 2,000 years ago. But you don't have to be religious to enjoy this holiday. As a part of Christmas, children enjoy a visit from Santa Claus who leaves gifts and treats. The exchanging of gifts between loved ones is also a highlight of Christmas. Another wonderful winter holiday is Hanukkah. Jewish people celebrate the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem during the 2nd century BC. Legend tells of Jews rising up against their Greek and Syrian oppressors in the Maccabean Revolt. This holiday is celebrated for 8 days in December, with each day being recognized by lighting a candle on a menorah. There's also a fun game that is played called dreidel, and people enjoy eating traditional Jewish foods like latkes and safkinyot. Kwanzaa is an African winter celebration that's observed during the last week of December. It's a fairly new holiday, having been established in 1965. This is a time for people of African descent to remember the history and traditions of their culture. Similar to Hanukkah, Kwanzaa is celebrated by lighting a candle each day, with each one representing an important African principle like unity, creativity, and faith. Ramadan is an Islamic holiday that celebrates a month of fasting. It can sometimes fall during the wintertime and sometimes falls during the summertime. This commemorates the first Quran revelation that the Prophet Muhammad received. During this month, Muslims fast from sunup to sundown, only eating and drinking before dawn and after sunset. This is a time of increased prayer and spiritual reading. Chinese New Year recognizes the beginning of the Chinese calendar. This holiday falls in the later part of January to the early part of February. This is time for parades, ceremonies, and feasting with friends and family. The most important part of the Chinese New Year is the Lantern Festival. During the evening of the Lantern Festival, children go out at night carrying lanterns and solve fun riddles written on them. While China has their own unique New Year celebrations, so does Japan. Japanese New Year, also called Omisoka, is celebrated at the same time as New Year in the United States, except one day earlier. December 31st. Omisoka is seen as a clean slate. People clean their homes from top to bottom and remove clutter, hoping to encourage new beginnings and possibilities. The tradition is called azoji. Following azoji, there are feasts with traditional Japanese foods and parties with friends and family. Whatever the winter celebration is, one of the most important fixtures are family and friends. These holidays are best celebrated with the ones you love the most. Maybe your family could adopt some new winter celebrations like these.
So which ones are you going to go and celebrate? I can't wait for New Year. And of course, this time of year, celebrating the joy of the holiday, it's so much fun. If you haven't had a chance now in the new year, perhaps we'll be able to get on the road again and travel to some of these spots. I love being in tropics during Christmas, like Hawaii, or going down under to Australia where it's summertime. It's just a really unique way. Now, the complete opposite, a couple years ago, this time of year, we were actually with a group of people going to look for the Northern Lights, but we went to Iceland and Reykjavik, one of the best places to celebrate Christmas anywhere in the world. And they have some great traditions, the Yule lads, the countryside. It's one of the all-time wonderful cities and Christmas markets. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and they love to have a good time in Iceland. So we thought these are a couple places that we love to visit, especially because while you're out doing some of your touring, you actually might walk out your hotel room and see beautiful areas like this. Now, there's only about 6 hours of light this time of year, so that can be a little bit quick, but the beauty is unbelievable. It's truly the land of fire and ice. And the power of Iceland, both with the wind and the wonderful waterfalls, is something to behold. And of course, some of the night shots aren't too bad. That's one of ours that we took right outside our hotel room. And coming back to the city, there's just no town quite like Reykjavik. They have a wonderful sense of humor, as you can see. Now, we thought we'd celebrate by going around the world and see some of the other wonderful Christmas towns and holiday towns. So which one are you looking forward to going to? I know you've got that list and you're checking it twice, right? You saw a lot of the stops maybe in Europe, and one of the great experiences, the Christmas markets. And of course, one way that you might want to go out and do that is on one of the wonderful Viking cruises. If you've been on our More Than tours, you know that they've been running a thing called Viking TV and celebrating different cultures, different areas, and lots of great information for us to learn. Well, one of the things I love about their product line is that they're always having the experience of the area. And a lot of it is actually in private homes and special, unique experiences. And Kira, the daughter of the owner and the wonderful blonde that you see on all of their marketing materials, she is so much fun, but she also gets to go to great places and experience new things. And so here's a quick one that you might enjoy.
Of Christmas wreaths. We are in Passau today with Elizabeth, who is going to show us how to make a German Advent wreath. And you call Advent wreaths Adventkranz.
Yeah,
Adventkranz. So this is a traditional Advent wreath, and this is a modern Advent wreath. So there are three important components to this. So the straw ring is the most important thing. Then the steel wire, which you will use to bind the ring. Und then
the Tannen.
And then the pine needles, yes. Those are the three things you need to make this Advent wreath. So she starts with tying off the wire on the straw ring, and then she places the pine needles around the ring. Und wie vielen?
Bei dieser, der Stick 8.
For this thickness straw ring, she uses about 8 of this type of small pine needles. So, of course, if the ring is wider, she needs more. If it's narrower, she needs less. So she continues doing that. Und then...
Nicht so gut zum Binden, der ist so dick.
So when she's done a round, she binds the wire around the one first round. The start is always the most difficult.
Anfang ist nicht gut.
So she needs a nail without a head on it, and the candle.
Wird jetzt heiß.
And then she heats up the nail so that she can put it inside the candle, right, like that. So she puts the heated up nail inside the candle, which will ensure that she can fix the candle onto the wreath. Yes, sehr gut, yeah.
Muss man umdrehen können, so fest muss das halten.
Yeah. So this candle is now fixed very well to the wreath, and from here on out she can continue decorating. On this wreath, she has chosen mistle for luck and acorns from the nature and cinnamon for the smell. But you can really do whatever you want, and it's as easy as that.
From our family to yours, happy holidays.
So we've traveled and seen some traditions from around the world. One of the companies that we love to be able to work with is, of course, Celebrity Cruises. And for those that don't know, Celebrity is an amazing company in that they are like in tourism. You saw in Lois the wonderful personality. People love people. Well, one individual that works for them is the first American woman captain. And Captain Kate has a bit of a cult following, but what we wanted to share with you is another way of celebrating the season. And of course, we all know Santa Claus in a certain way, but maybe you didn't know that Saint Nick is actually the patron saint of protection. And so we wanted to share a quick video that was just shot December 6th for you.
Today is December 6th, and for many, the celebration of St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas, aka Kris Kringle or Santa Claus, is known for his generosity and jolly nature, but many of us know him also as one of the patron saints and protectors of seafarers. That's why you'll find him represented in many ways on board our celebrity ships. I might just add that Celebrity Cruises was started by the Chandris family, a prominent name in Greek shipping, and hence the strong Orthodox presence. St. Nicholas' watchful eye is in different forms, and with Celebrity's Greek heritage, it's usually a Greek Orthodox icon in various locations on board. You'll most definitely find him in the captain's cabin. This icon has been here since the startup of the ship, and these were given to me by some of my officers for protection. And this one I got in Greece on my first command of the Celebrity Edge. St. Nicholas is in the engine control room and shares his name day with the birthday of our chief engineer, Yanni. And then there's the bridge. Ships and tradition go hand in hand, and one such tradition that we uphold is to start the new year off right by honoring St. Nicholas as one of the first who enters the bridge, followed by our bridge team members just after midnight on the 31st of December, which also happens to be my husband Nicola's birthday. I have a lot of faith in Nicola, and not just because I married one, but because the resemblance is just uncanny. But it's not just St. Nicholas that looks after us. There is something else on our ships. We have holy water. Also from Greece to bless certain occasions like this one from 2019. During my handover with Captain Dimitri, he blessed me and the other officers on watch as I performed my first Celebrity Edge maneuver. And while I'm not Greek, Orthodox, or Catholic, I do find it comforting to have traditions and faith, especially when it comes to the most important thing, protecting my crew.
And of course, St. Nicholas protects like nobody's business. Now, Kate McHugh, Captain McHugh, I think is one of the really great stories. She has a wonderful sense of humor, and I would invite you, if you haven't seen her YouTube videos, go and take a look. They are absolutely a blast. Now, of course, the holidays is about traditions, memories, and what better way to build some of those than through the movies. So what I'll do is I asked you your favorite movie before. Maybe you'll have, after we show you a couple ones that you might have forgotten, we kind of listed the top movies of all time. Now, there are so many, so if we don't get to yours, we really apologize, but maybe you're going to remember some of these wonderful movie memories.
What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. I wish I had $1 million. I'm in trouble, Mr. Potter. I need help.
At exactly 10:45 p.m. Earth time, that man will be thinking seriously of throwing away God's greatest gift.
I don't want any plastics, and I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married ever to anyone. You understand that? I want to do what...
Singing a song, nothing but bluebirds, bluebirds all day long.
Bing and Danny are bringing you a bonus of holiday cheer early this year with the music, the magic of one of the greatest entertainment hits of all time. Bing and Danny in a joyous show business story of a couple of guys who have made good and now want to make better.
You got everything you want, except the most important thing.
What's this?
A girl.
I'll get around to that one of these days.
My dear partner, when what's left of you gets around to what's left to be gotten, what's left to be gotten won't be worth getting whatever it is you've got left.
When I'm worried and I can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep.
The best thing happened while you're dancing.
A time of goodwill to all men. All, that is, except one.
Those of us with means should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute.
Ebenezer Scrooge, a man whose contempt for others,
Mr. Cratchit,
is matched only by his greed and lust for wealth.
Christmas comes but once a year, sir. Poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December.
Hell, what?
A secret.
What secret?
Santa Claus. I've known for a long time. He's not real. If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Right. Or a truth that draws a tear.
20th Century Fox. Richard Attenborough, Elizabeth Perkins, Dylan McDermott, and Mrs. Doubtfire's Mara Wilson present you with the most precious gift of all. Something to believe in.
American Christmas.
Thanks a lot.
MGM presents A Christmas Story. Of the original, traditional.
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
100% two-fisted, red-blooded.
It's smiling at me.
All-American Christmas. A Christmas Story.
A rather different kind of Christmas movie.
Where most Christmas movies are about families being together, the idea that there's a child left alone in the house while the family is off on a trip. It's just a great premise.
What? What?
I remember Home Alone becoming such a phenomenon, and I saw it and loved it, and I fell madly in love with Macaulay Culkin, too.
Released in mid-November, Home Alone ruled as the #1 hit at the box office for 12 straight weeks, and amazingly, stayed in the top 10 until June.
So Christmas traditions have changed and disappeared over the last 100 years due to new technology and new ideas. And now traditions are so different that looking back at some of the old ones may seem unfamiliar and even shocking to you. So here are 5 Christmas traditions from the 1950s that we no longer do. Number 1, the aluminum Christmas tree. The aluminum tree, named the Silver Pine, sold in 1955 by Modern Coatings Incorporated of Chicago. The Silver Pine became such a hit among households for its very modern and space-age appearance. These trees didn't need a string of lights, as the reflection of the tree itself would shift in a kaleidoscope of color that came with a floodlight and a rotating color wheel. It wasn't until the hit cartoon film A Charlie Brown Christmas, which premiered in 1965, killed off this trend with satire.
We need a Christmas tree. Hey, perhaps a tree. A great, big, shiny aluminum Christmas tree.
Number 2, bubble lights. Before the small fairy lights that we have today, the 1950s had bubble lights, sold by a company named Noma, which were sealed glass tubes with a colored bubbling liquid inside that lit up in different colors like blue, yellow, red, and green. Number 3, the dreaded Jell-O everything. Through the holidays, especially Christmas, mixing food into Jell-O was very popular. Jell-O cakes, Jell-O meat pies, Jell-O salad, Jell-O shrimp. Pretty much any food you can think of was suspended inside of Jell-O. Horrifying, I know. In the early 1950s, refrigerators were still quite expensive and gelatin needs refrigeration in order to set. So, preparing a Jell-O dish was something of a status symbol that was often brought to or prepared for a holiday party. Number 4, listening to the radio. Although TVs were around in the 1950s, most families still depended on the radio for entertainment. Through the holidays, families would gather around the tree and fireplace and listen to not only music, but also charming Christmas stories told by professional voice actors live on the radio. Let's take a listen to a recording I have of the Aldridge Family Christmas, which aired in 1952.
The holiday season is always the wide-eyed time of the year for a typical teenage boy.
But no matter how wide open his eyes are, he's almost certain to walk right smack into some assorted troubles, especially if he's like Henry Aldrich. The scene opens at the Aldrich breakfast table. The time is morning.
Sam, did we send the Whitmores a card?
The Whitmores? Who are the Whitmores?
Well, don't you remember? We met them on the train coming back from Chicago.
You mean that trip we took way back in 1946?
Yes.
And they're still sending us cards?
Every Christmas. Naturally, we ought to send them one.
Number 5, Christmas cards. Now, we definitely still use Christmas cards to this day, but not in the same way. Nowadays, we use it to simply wish someone a happy holiday and often stick the card in a gift. In the 1950s, people would fill the card with details about themselves, updating them on new things in their life, and then they would finalize the card with a follow-up question for the other person before they would send the card through the mail. Then the person who receives it would reply with a Christmas card included with details about what's new in their life, kind of like the old school version of emailing. So which one of these traditions do you find the most surprising? Comment down below and
sit down with my mom and my dad and my brother, and we would be glued to the TV set.
Shawowdee, all you pooch eyes. I don't know what that means, but it played very big at the bathhouse.
It was fun. It was entertaining. There used to be like 2 or 3 hour specials that were on NBC, probably the week before Christmas, and always had good memories and made you feel sort of patriotic and good about your country, and also sad during the holidays that these people couldn't be with their families. The thing that made Bob Hope so popular during these specials was the fact that he seemed to be the only guy who would give up his holidays to go be with the soldiers.
This morning, a perfect stranger handed me a gift beautifully wrapped. I can't get over the way he tied the fuse into a bow.
And I think this went back years and years. It wasn't only Vietnam. He had been doing this for many, many years. In fact, I think right before he passed away, he went to the Middle East. So it was something that was in his blood, and he was obviously passionate about.
Have a Merry Christmas, and God bless you. Bye.
In 1965, CBS came up with a rather bold idea, taking Charles Schulz's famous Peanut series, which had become a global phenomenon, and bringing it to television in the form of a Christmas special.
The Charlie Brown Christmas special was really well written. It was sweet. It was kind of surprisingly spiritual.
I never thought it was such a bad little tree. It's not bad at all, really. Maybe it just needs a little love.
When executives saw it, they despaired. They thought they had a bomb on their hands.
They hate that he uses real children for the voices.
Charlie Brown is a blockhead, but he did get a nice tree.
They hate that he uses jazz music, and they really hate that it has this anti-consumerism message. And the network's like, all right, fine, we'll air it, but we're never airing it again.
The people loved it. It became a huge hit.
The premiere on December 9th, 1965, was viewed by nearly half of Americans watching TV that night.
And it's been playing every year ever since.
The music was really what made it different, and Vince Guaraldi is a genius.
It was finally cool to listen to jazz. And I love that. I love that the Peanuts made that happen for so many Americans.
I never heard jazz music or never liked it until I saw that show. And that was the first thing I learned on the piano, was that riff.
I don't care how old you are. When you hear that music, you go, that's Charlie Brown.
There aren't many cultural artifacts that have 5 decades worth of shelf life, but they trot this out every year, and it seems just as fresh and sweet and funny as it ever did.
Celebrating through the decades. How many of you had that Jell-O or maybe that tree that they were talking about? I always love my dad. He tells me all the time that he grew up, he's really a radio guy. And so all he needs is a radio and the Christmas songs or the holiday songs, because without the music, I don't think the season would be the season. So what we wanted to do is we took a list of some of the top holiday songs of all time. We wanted, of course, share those with you.
Women at the same time.
And of course, Elvis is going to start us off.
I'll have a Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same if you're not here with me.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad.
Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas.
Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. And on every street corner you hear silver bells.
I love
the Santa suit.
Silver bells,
just fill it up with loot.
it's Christmas time in the city.
And of course, this voice doesn't need any video.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight.
Silent
Christmas, you can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. And I don't care about the presents. I need a Christmas tree. I don't need to hang my stocking there upon the fireplace. Make me happy with a toy of Christmas. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true, baby. All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
And of course, when it comes to music and celebration, it wouldn't be complete without New York City and of course, Radio City Music Hall and the wonderful Rockettes. Started in 1953, more than 3,000 individuals have gone on to be Rockettes and help celebrate the season. Now, we wanted to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at some of their amazing acts. Of course, the very classic Toy Soldiers and what they do to get ready and how this all happens.
My first year as a Rocket, when I learned the Soldier Fall, I remember it was so hard for me to figure out. We learn it 6 girls at a time first. 6 of us go up and then we add on and we do 12 girls at a time, and then we'll add on a little more and we'll do 18 girls, which is half the line. And every time it just feels a little bit different and everything moves a little faster, and then eventually we get to doing it with all 36 women at the same time.
It starts off by having somebody rock up on their heels and start to go back, and you raise your hands up and slide your hands through and open your arms, and when that woman in front of you is on your chest, then you do the same thing. You rock up on your heel, and everything keeps going up and back. And the other thing is that our feet have to be completely lined up, because you don't want the fall to go one way or the other, because somebody's knee could get hurt. You want to be giving resistance to the person in front of you so that you help them do the fall. You start working on being active in that fall long before it gets to you, so that you really feel it coming and you help the people in front of you. So it is a complete team effort.
By the time we get to the stage for the Soldier Fall, it feels completely different than in the rehearsal room. You know, we're just in our rehearsal clothes doing it, but once you have on the hat and the jackets and the gloves and our pants are nice and stiff so we look like real soldiers, it really puts you into that soldier feeling.
We have these big hats on that you have to keep straight, and normally when somebody is coming back, your nose is completely smashed and you have to not turn your head, which is exactly what you want to do, but you have to just trust that, yes, my nose is going to get flattened a little bit, but it'll be all fine once it's over.
As soon as the soldier boy brings out the cannon and he shoots it and the little flag comes out saying boom, everyone in the audience dies laughing, and we want to start laughing as well because it's so cool. It just reminds you how silly it looks to the audience. It really brings so much joy to that part of the show because it can be stressful at times. You want to make sure you're doing all of your steps and doing the fall correctly, but then you remember that it's an iconic part of the show. The audience loves it, and it really is their favorite part, which makes it one of my favorite parts in the show to perform.
And we could not give you a little feel for the show.
Old St. Nick is gonna take a flight. The moon is shining bright. Ring out the bells. Old St. Nick will ride through the sky. Should see these reindeer fly.
New York City has shaped Christmas, the modern secular Christmas we now celebrate, more than any other city in the world. And it's really because of the efforts of two very gifted New Yorkers who lived here in the 1800s. Clement Clark Moore, a New York professor of Oriental and Greek literature, had an idea that would change Christmas forever. In 1822, he wrote a 56-line poem he called A Visit from St. Nicholas, better known today as The Night Before Christmas. Almost single-handedly, he created the modern American vision of Christmas. His inspiration? Two legendary Christmas figures of the old world. One was St. Nicholas, a 4th century bishop renowned for gift-giving, legendary for leaving presents in stockings. The other was Sinterklaas, the Dutch version of St. Nicholas. Sinterklaas had merged a bit with Odin, the pagan god of Yule, who flew through the sky on an 8-legged horse. Moore introduced several new characteristics for Santa. He dressed him in American fur, gave him a pipe, and portrayed him not as a priest, but a jolly, dimpled elf with a twinkle in his eye. On his back, he toted a sack full of toys for the children of the house. Moore also gave him a sleigh that he flew through the sky, led not by a horse, but by 8 reindeer, each with its own name. As iconic as Clement Clark Moore's Santa was, he still wasn't the fully formed Kris Kringle we know today. His Santa still had no North Pole workshop, no elves, no letters from kids, and no naughty and nice list. Where did these details come from? Give the credit to another New Yorker, illustrator Thomas Nast. He took Moore's Santa and produced the definitive version for generations to come. In 1862, one of America's major magazines, Harper's Weekly, commissioned Nast to draw its Christmas illustrations. He transformed Moore's jolly old elf into someone taller and grander.
Nast does this year after year. He creates lots of the things we associate with Santa Claus. The list of naughty and nice, living at the North Pole, and that becomes the image of Santa Claus.
I hope you enjoyed today's trip around all of the celebration of the season, both past, present. Maybe you remember some things from your youth, learned something new or exciting, enjoyed the music and all that was here. I want to say a real special thank you to Heidi, who has been working with me for weeks to get this all prepared. It's amazing what you can learn. I think the one thing the pandemic has taught us is every day is an opportunity to go out and learn something new. And this time, for a lot of us, maybe has given us a chance to see what's important and what really matters in our lives. And we have some great events coming up. We'd love to have you join us. They're up on the screen. You can also find all of this at friendshiptours.net. Our More Than Tours section. We appreciate the different senior centers, the groups that came together, all of the wonderful, we like to call you part of the friendship family. And the last thing that we wanted to close is, of course, the joy of the season. And I can't think of a better way to do this than the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and our Air Force Marching Band. Thanks for coming, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Enjoy the holiday season. Thanks for joining us. Have a great holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing you as our journey begins again in 2021.